Hey everybody, welcome back to Game Analysis. Tonight I'm going to analyze a game I just played at Scrabble Club. And this is sort of like a thing that I do, and I'm going to spoil the result of the game, but sometimes I get somewhat upset when I lose certain games. I mean, I don't like losing. I try to win whenever possible, but um certain games just beg the question to me, like, why did I lose? Why did I lose this game? Like, what? It makes me feel like I should have won the game. Like in the game, something happens that I feel like should have won me the game, and it doesn't. And the thing that I do to um, cleanse my mind and appease my issues is I analyze games, and I found that analysis really helps me understand what went wrong in pretty much all the games that I've lost. It helps me to figure out what I could have done better. Um, and sometimes it's not possible for me to do that without really looking through the game. Um, so yeah, this is going to be, I guess, a game that I played tonight against my clubmate Jason Lee, where I felt like I didn't know what I did wrong, and I wanted to figure that out. So Jason goes first here, and he plays vegete, which is a nice six-letter word that it's good to know. It doesn't take an S or any other hooks. It's just a nice way to get rid of V and G and a bunch of E's. And my opening rack was this. And with a rack like this, you gotta look for bingos. So I spent a while looking for bingos, and I couldn't find anything. The only thing I saw that was possible really was doornail through a D, and indeed no bingos play. And so the next best bet is a double double. That's sometimes a good way to score points with what we call sticks, 1 point tiles. Is play through two doubles, play 6 of your 7 letters. If you're close to a bingo, sometimes you can do that, maximize your score. So that's what I did. It's Aliener, Aileron. Those are the two double doubles that fit, and nothing else is really worth considering because despite these all being the L, the N, the R, the A, the I, they're all bingo tiles. None of them are so much worth keeping for a big score decrease. There are a lot more bingo tiles to come, and it's not like I'm using up an S or a blank. Um, so yeah, Alienor versus Aileron. Even here, I'd be like, maybe I should have played Aileron. Like, what? Maybe I did something wrong here, but I decided to play Aliener instead of Aileron. It looks like it's like the same thing, but this one gives back, I think, more easy plays through the I for Jason, and also overlaps. Any word ending in ed is going to score pretty nicely here and not open anything else. Whereas if you play a word ending in ed after Alienor, that gives back a triple, it gives back this double with this triple letter. So the defense seemed a bit better. And this actually comes into play later in the game, which is very interesting. Sometimes those very small adjustments can mean something. Jason goes ahead and he exchanges 6 here. Let's give him some random bad tiles. And yeah, here's the first turn that I didn't really know what to do. So this is the first inflection point of the game. Didn't really know what a good play would be here. I can't underlap uh, Vegete or Vegete because I don't have any high scoring letters that underlap, and I can't overlap because of OT. O is my only vowel. I saw something like long. It's like, really? That can't be good. And I ended up playing colon here. Um, Not really knowing what I should have done. So colon, yeah, by far the best valuation in the position. Something like Poon here doesn't make sense at all. Opens a lot of scoring spots for not so much. Clop might make sense. The problem is it keeps 2 ends. Call up I did not see. And I didn't see really any of these other plays. All I saw was colon. I'll give it a little simulation to see if there's a problem with my play, but I figured with all the scoring spots on the board and Jason exchanging 6, probably keeping an S or an E, most likely an E. When your opponent changes 6, that's usually the letter they're keeping. He's slightly more likely to bingo than average here, but not to the extent where I wouldn't be. I'd be really, really hesitant to open up this C with all these other scoring spots on the board, bingo lanes, lots of floaters. Okay, so this looks fine. Long, maybe the second best play. Glad I spotted that too. Jason plays Tremel. And, oh, oops. I had it on the wrong dictionary. Oh, that could have changed something. We're playing NWL 18, and TE wasn't a word in TWL 06. Sorry about that. I'm trusting that the simulation results are fine, but let's actually, I mean, we can go back and see if there's another play. No. Anyways, so yeah, Jason plays Tremel, which I held for a minute, or for a few seconds, but after he drew his tile, I was like, yeah, that's a word. It's weird, but it's a word. And yeah, here is turn 2, where I don't really know if I went wrong or not. Did I really have... Yeah, I had an N, not a... I wrote that I had an R here, but I had an N. So this is my rack. Oh, okay, Pepla. So that might have been a mistake. I didn't see Pepla, plural of peplum. Ponji is really cool, but that couldn't be right. I ended up playing people. Figuring that if I drew a U, I'd have unpeople. And I was keeping balanced letters, A and N. That is better than ENO probably, but let's give it a simulation, see which play performs the best under the pressure test. Because yeah, scoring points is good, so it might be better to have played Pepla. I can't believe that it would be such a huge difference, though. I think I'm going to wait quite some time for this to stabilize a little bit. But so far, Pepla's performing extremely well. I'm going to have to wait for around 3,000 iterations before the sim results have any bearing whatsoever. That's usually the baseline for which I wait. But yeah, the thing about Pepla is it scores 3 more points, and it doesn't have those extensions: re-people, de-people, unpeople. Those are all extensions that Jason could easily have for 36 points with 1-point letters, or 2-point letters with de-peoples 39. So I might not really be closer than him in the race to extend the word. So that's not necessarily a good thing to protect against drawing a U, for example. The other thing that Pepla has going for it is I might bingo a similar amount. Let's see. Yeah, I actually bingo a bit more because despite the lack of balance of having 2 vowels and a consonant, there are tons of letters to play through here, and a lot of them are consonants. So I will be able to bingo a decent amount of the time. So, I'll wait a little bit more, but it does seem like at the very least I failed to consider a play in this position that was potentially the best play. Also, after 3,000 iterations, if the plays are within a few points of one another, it's not really that clear which play is better, but obviously the play that simulates better in a vacuum has a better chance of being the right play, because the computer's math and the computer's heuristics are exist. They might be flawed, so I might be able to make an argument against a play simulating best, but yeah, it doesn't. That's not in a vacuum, is what I'm trying to say. I would have to refute the engine. Whereas if I'm just saying, okay, I don't really know, the play that's likelier to be best is play with a higher valuation, probably. So we're at 3,000, and the players are within 2 points of one another. They were 10 points. They were really getting much closer as time went on, as I expected. And actually, people is getting closer and closer to Pepla. Uh, One thing that might, I don't know, that might go in my favor here is that Jason might be unsure of the extensions or miss the extensions of people, whereas I'm acutely aware of them. But I wasn't really trying to exploit that in this position. I'm just trying to justify, I guess, having missed a play, which there isn't really much justification. I knew that I could try and find a play through this L that doubled the P, but I just couldn't find it. I think I saw Popla, Popla, and I was like, that's not a word. Um, so yeah, Pepla could be Pepla. O for Pepla. Oh, that's not O4. Okay. So yeah, this is good. This is really helping me so far. I understand why I lost this game. Again, spoilers. Potentially. Jason plays Koyo, a nice way to get rid of terrible letters, and this was another inflection point. I actually went below, I think, 13 minutes on this turn after only making 3 moves. Really went to show how complicated this game seemed, like how difficult the moves were for me to find. But I went below 13 minutes here searching for bingos. At some point, I saw veranda, and I was like, oh, RO would be so nice if this fit. And I couldn't find a bingo for the longest time. I think I sat there for probably 5 minutes looking through all the consonants and then the vowels. Just couldn't find anything. And the only thing I really saw is that there are probably a ton of options. I could play off HA, and I could play off the RE for re people. But yeah, playing off HA would be the fish play. Trying to bingo soon. I could make a play like head. I could maybe play through this O, and then I saw the word hanged, and I thought, okay, this scores a lot of points. How much does it score? And I was like, 38. That's pretty good. I might want to make this move. Jason might even like see this word and be like, oh, that's not how English works. But as we know, there are 2 verbs, hang. One of them is past tense is hung. The other one is hanged. But yeah, I was all ready to play hanged, and then I laid down the HAN, and then I was like, oh, I could also play hangered. Oh my god. And so I finally, after searching for a long time, saw that I actually had this insane 6-way overlap bingo of hangered, which is the only bingo in the position. Oh, repeopled. Huh, interesting. Yeah, I should have considered repeopled, not just repeople. But yeah, bingo is obviously best. Jason thought I was trying to trick him because I laid this down really slowly after a long time. But he told me there was a game he played against Jackson Smiley where he played this, I think, triple triple, and it was challenged. But no, I wasn't trying to trick him. I literally just didn't see the play until I saw it, until I was laying down a different play. So very lucky to escape this one unscathed. Well, kind of scathed. I have 13 minutes left on my clock after only 3 turns, so half of my time was gone. So I knew I had to speed things up. And then I drew my tiles, and I'm like, oh my god, I have a bingo through this E. Please don't block it, Jason. Please don't block it. You don't want to be blocking things, right? Like you're behind 48. So according to Jason, he played this move because he misread or maybe miscalculated that I had 170 rather than 150. He thought I had 150. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna tie the game up. I can play on this board. I don't have to not block things. But he ended up making this play potentially. Well, he didn't really know D people for sure. but he probably had other plays that were probably worth considering, and instead he blocked my bingo of four fens. Um, just want to make sure that is a word, right? Yeah. So yeah, I had four fens through the E, and he blocked it, and that was very sad. But he did give me an easy spot to overlap. So I was gonna play Doff if he blocked four fens, but then he gave me the spot for four. And I actually wondered here if I had made a mistake after my play because I miscalculated this as scoring like around 37 rather than 40. I guess 40 is around 37. But keeping the DNR and getting rid of the S might actually be fine here. There are no S hooks really except peoples, and you'd have to have a very specific word to fit there. Koyos doesn't matter. And I'm keeping not one, not two, but three tiles that can um, extend peoples, which is still a thing in this position. Um, and interestingly, Doff actually has a higher valuation than four. But yeah, I played four here, and that actually might have been a mistake. So let's wait for the simulation to run. I'm gonna do this little trick here to bring the right numbers onto the details box. And yeah, I think I'm gonna edit this video for when the simulation is over, unless I have something to talk about. So, okay, off scores 40, leaves very nicely. It's much more balanced to leave three constants than is four. DNR, again, that's really nice for unpeople, repeople, depeople. And if I draw any of un or repeople, I can also add the D, which is really nice. I keep on saying really nice. And yeah, like I said, the S isn't super valuable here. The thing that 4 does that's pretty nice is it keeps my S for many turns in a row. So the concept of recursion is very much existent in this position. The S could come in handy later, even though there are 3 more to come. There's no guarantee I'm drawing another one, but the S could definitely help me later on. And the thing about 4 is it sets up fremd. If I don't draw like any vowels or only like one vowel, it's actually very nice to just play fremd, F-R-E-M-D, for 26 points, which should leave me at the bare minimum with NS and three unknown letters. It might also be the best play if I draw vowels. So that's a good thing about the play of 4. So the recursion and immediately setting up a potential word is pretty nice, and I have the lead, so the S not only can be useful for me offensively, maybe draw into a bingo or create an S hook or use an S hook. It's also useful defensively if Jason is trying to set up his own S because he is behind in this position. If he makes some play on the bottom of the board, mostly thinking on the D column to set up an S, I can be there. I can be ready to potentially use up that S spot if I want to. But once again, another play is simulating a bit better than the play that I made. And I understand. It's very, very useful to keep all these letters. Obviously, if I draw an E or a U, I still have repeopled and unpeopled in this position, but I'm less likely to draw said letters because I'm only drawing 3 letters and not 4. And also, look at this. Tons of I's left, only 3 E's left, 4 A's and a bunch of U's. But yeah, the E's are astoundingly scarce already at this point in the game. So there's a lot of imbalance going on. It's a very bizarre position, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to look at this game, because the positions were kind of weird. But yeah, maybe offs. I think I probably should have played offs. So yeah, I saw offs first, and then I saw 4, and I was like, okay, 34 for offs, and then the overlap, and I didn't count FER as 6. I think I counted in my head like very quickly as 3 and didn't like thoroughly count, and that was a problem. That's something I shouldn't have done. So that's might have misled me to make potentially the wrong play. All right, do the same thing. Questionable because it's within a few points, and for the reasons I mentioned. Jason plays Wreaths for 88. Very nice. Probably. Oh, Watches scores 3 more, although it sets up an X in 2 spots. So whoever draws the X is going to be very happy. So that might be a mistake because he's now in the lead. He doesn't want me to just come back for 50. I could very well have the X with 4. And he blocks Fremd. So I have this rack, and I played Find. It seemed pretty obvious here. Leaving 4 constants, like I said, isn't so great. Although keeping the N could be useful for unpeoples down the line. But I don't think that's worth enough. Maybe Fern will sim better for some weird reason. Keeping the D might be useful. But I thought I had a decent chance of bingoing the next turn or the turn after Find. And even if I don't bingo, the scores are close. I didn't feel like I was in terrible shape here. Yeah, I think Find is probably just fine. That seems just like the standard idea. And then Jason gave me a gift, and he played XU here. And hey, had he played Watches, he might have gotten an X bomb. But who knows if he had an A or an E or an O in this position. But he hooks Koyo with an X, which is not valid. The word noyau and Oyau, which means nut in French, does take the X. And the word koyo in the NWL lexicon does not. But I'm pretty sure that in CSWs this does take an X. But I knew this from experience, and so I won a challenge here, very very luckily for me. So I won a turn, and that again, that is one of the reasons I want to look at this game, because Jason lost an entire turn, which is a pretty big mistake, no matter what. So yeah, it made it even worse that I lost the game because he had lost a turn. But again, analysis is my solace. Analysis will tell me what I could have done, not what Jason could have done. It will tell me what Jason could have done, but I don't really. It's up to him to analyze his own plays, and that's not why we're not here to say, oh, Jason missed this, Jason did that. But now I know part of his rack, and so the position gets even more complex because I can infer his letters, which is potentially a useful tool and is potentially not, potentially misleading tool. Let me save the game here. I might do 2 parts because this is very much in-depth analysis as opposed to my unearthing unfinished business stuff, because everything is so fresh in my mind that there's a lot more for me to talk about. But yeah, it could be misleading to infer a partial rack leave, because that doesn't actually, when you do this in Quackle, it just assumes 5 random tiles. Now, the only time people's tiles are random is after they've made a 7 tile play. Other than that, save for some very, very, very specific situations, people's racks are never random. So there had to be a reason that he played XU rather than something else. So for example, with inference, we can potentially narrow down what his other letters are, because if he has certain letters with XU, he would have better plays with them. I guess we could just think about something like, I don't know what a good example of this would be. If he has XU, he might he might have, yeah, I don't really know. But I think the point is simply that like someone's rack isn't always random. So using this tool, that's what I was trying to get to, can actually be not so useful because it might assume that Jason has a play that will hit back against the play that I make, which he probably doesn't have based on the potential letters that he has. Anyways, very complicated stuff. I could play Ursid. Oh, that's interesting. I was considering potentially trying to set up my X some other way. I didn't see a great way to do that. Um, but since I know two of his 7 letters, he's less likely to have any other letter. Kind of. But like I said, racks are never random, fully. So I made the play that I thought was standard. Again, I was low on time, which is not good. It doesn't give me enough time to analyze these sorts of things. I hate playing Scrabble knowing part of my opponent's rack because it makes things so much more complicated. You're not just playing against like these I guess what would I call this? Metaphysical things. You're playing against real physical things. Like you can think about the game of Scrabble as a probability game, but once you know parts of your opponent's rack, it becomes more of a information game, um, and it makes things super complex. Um, Anyways, I think this is where I'm going to like end the first video and make a part two. But if I already did that uh, in this video, forgive me. I've never really done this before. I'm very new to this making video thing. But I'm gonna cut things here and do part two um, the day after that I post this part one. Wow, I'm really struggling here. But anyways, I hope to catch you guys in part two to see what happens in the, I guess, second half of this game. So goodbye.